Are you tired of not having the technical skill, speed, or confidence to play the things that you're hearing in your head? If you are, it's probably because you're making one or more of these 7 mistakes that I'm getting ready to reveal right now. Not only am I going to break down what you're doing wrong, I'm also going to show you exactly how you can fix it so we can get you on the track to becoming the best drummer that you can possibly be. Starting with mistake number 1. Mistake number 1 is having a slow foot. You want to make sure that your foot is able to keep up and have a good relationship with your other limbs, which is having a slow foot. You want to make sure that your feet are fast enough to keep up with what you're thinking. A lot of people may have the technical speed in their hands, and they have the chops, and they have the ability to play a lot of things around the drums. But when it comes to establishing that relationship between your hands and your feet, that is where they fail. Whenever you're playing the drums, the conversation between your hands and your feet need to be clean, and they need to be articulate. That's why when some of y'all go for some chops, it doesn't make sense. Your phrases aren't full and your phrases aren't articulate. It is because your foot cannot necessarily keep up with your hands. So getting a hold of some dope foot exercises is always going to help you. If you look into the description of my channel, I have some exercises for both your hands and your feet, and it will most definitely help push you forward and help you get exactly where you want to get when it comes to playing some chops and being able to translate what you want to do from your mind onto the drum kits. Another thing that you want to check out is the technique that you're using. A lot of the times, people only want to use heel down or they only want to use heel up. I'm the type of person where different situations will call me to use a different technique. I don't always stay heel down and I don't always stay heel up. It is always going to be a differentiation in which one you need to play. So when you go through different musical situations, if you want to play softer chops, if you want to be a little bit lighter, if you want to be a little bit more, graceful with the drums, then you might want to use the heel down technique. Okay, but if you want to be a little bit more stronger, if you want to play stronger doubles, if you want your foot to come out strong when you're playing your chops, then of course we need to use heel up. Different techniques are going to call for different things. You also have to pay attention to where your foot is on the pedal board. I've found that the faster figures that I want to play, and I want to play a little bit stronger and heavier, I need to pull my foot back on the pedal. If this is the pedal, my foot needs to be a little bit more back, finding that sweet spot so you can get the mallet to swing harder and faster. If you want to play the opposite of that, so a little bit lighter, not as fast, but still a little bit strong, still with the full sound, then you want to slide your foot closer up. Okay, so you have to experiment with these things. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but you have to find your way to do it. Experimenting with different ways to play the kick drum and finding out which one suits you best. Let's move on to the next mistake. Mistake number 2 is going to be your tone. A lot of y'all chops don't sound good because you don't know how to strike the drums. When it comes to striking the drums, you want to make sure you're hitting the drum head in the center of the head to create a warm sound and a full sound. If you moving around the kit and you're not playing in the center, you're not letting the drum breathe and have its natural tone, which also is going to lead to your chops not sounding as good as they can. They are going to have that choked off and muted sound if you're not playing directly in the center of the head. You want to make sure you're playing directly in the center of the head. You ever look at some of these drummers, some of your favorite drummers, look at the heads on their drums. You're going to see that there's a little dot in between the middle of the drums from where they're hitting it at the same place over and over again. So working on your accuracy is going to help with your tone. And when I say accuracy, that means you just sitting down, working on where you're hitting the drum. Okay, I'm making sure I'm hitting the drum in the center. A lot of y'all be playing chops and you hitting the rim, you hitting the side. That is affecting how you sound to the audience because they're not able to hear the full tone or the full idea of what you're trying to translate. So work on your accuracy. Whenever you get some new heads, the next thing I want you to try is make sure that you don't have any marks outside of the center of the drum. The center of the drum needs to have most of the marks. Of course, the faster you get, sometimes you got to sacrifice hitting other things and not hitting the center, but you want to make sure that the majority of the places that you're striking the drum is in the dead center. And you're going to start to see a little white dot or a darker dot if you have a white head, showing where you're repeatedly hitting the center of the drum and getting that full sound. And that is going to help your tone, and that is going to help your chops sound so much better in the end. All right, y'all, real quick. What I post on YouTube is just the tip of the iceberg. All the biggest and the fastest progress happens inside of my online program, School of Chops. In my one-on-one mentorship, I teach drummers how to expand their vocabulary, build amazing solos, and flow effortlessly around the kit in just 90 days. So if you never really learn how to play chops and you want to start, or you've been playing drums for years and you never could quite figure out the creativity and chops part, hit the link below in the description to find out how we can work together one-on-one. Now, let's get back to the video. The third mistake is going to be the lack of knowing rudiments. The rudiments is your vocabulary of drumming, okay? The drums derive from the marching instruments, okay? So the marching instruments did not have chops, they had rudiments. So as they're reading the music and they come across different notes and different notations, they can know how to play those on the fly because they know their rudiments. You don't have to know all of the rudiments in the world, but just knowing a few of them is going to help you increase your vocabulary and help you know how to execute different things when you're playing on the drums. It's as simple as that. If you only know how to play paradiddles and double paradiddles, you are failing yourself. Not me, not another drummer, but yourself. Sit down and learn different rudiments. If you want to start with the 40 essential, that would be great. You can derive a lot of chops from those, but a lot of people wonder why their vocabulary is struggling and why they don't sound good, and it's because you don't have a vocabulary. You don't know your rudiments. You don't know any rudiments at all. So always experiment. And if you don't have a bunch of time to sit down and learn a bunch of rudiments, then what you can do is challenge yourself to learn at least one rudiment every single month. And I don't mean just learning it to the point where you practice it today and never touch it again. Actually learn it. Actually get to the point where somebody can call it and you can play it instantaneously. That is most definitely going to help you with your chops and your vocabulary overall. So do not miss out on that one. Figure out some rudiments. Try some of the hybrid rudiments. You can create some really dope chops from the hybrid rudiments, but open up your mind and open up your vocabulary. If you only use a certain type of words, in your actual language vocabulary, then you're only going to be limited to those words and you won't be able to expand and say things in a different manner. You'll be stuck with the same limited vocabulary, and that's how y'all's drumming is. Your drumming is limited with the vocabulary because you don't study rudiments. You don't know any rudiments. You only trying to do stickings that you're learning online, but if you did the work and learned the rudiments, you will realize half these stickings are deriving from different rudiments that you could have just learned, okay? So make sure you study your rudiments. Let's move on to the next mistake. This mistake is going to be huge because this mistake is all about comfortability on the kit. You have to make sure your setup is appropriate. I see so many amateur drummers sitting down behind the drums and they don't adjust anything. They keep everything the same. Then when it's time for a drum solo, they're hitting the rim, they're messing up, they clicking their sticks, they dropping sticks, they missing crashes because they did not adjust the setup to their comfortability. That is one of the most major things that you always have to remember. That's how I know if somebody's a beginner or not. That's how I know if somebody is good at what they do. Because when they sit down, they say, oh, this don't feel right. I got to adjust my snare, or I got to raise the hi-hat, or I got to put these cymbals in a certain position so I can perform at the best of my abilities. If you just go in behind the last drummer and you sit down and you begin to play the drums, you are going to make a mistake. It is almost inevitable because you're playing on somebody else's setup. If you were getting ready to take your driving test and you got in the car and you didn't move the mirrors and you didn't move the seat, in the state where I'm from, that is a fail. You will fail if you don't adjust everything because you have to be comfortable to the point where you can protect everybody that's in the vehicle. So guess what? Whenever you're sitting behind the drums and you're in the cockpit, right? And you sitting on the throne and you're leading everybody, you need to make sure, yo, look, I gotta be my most comfortable so I can lead everybody to a victory. We gotta stop thinking about drums as just another instrument. Drums is not just another instrument. This ain't guitar, this ain't bass, you know what I mean? This ain't trumpet, right? This ain't keys. Drums is the leadership instrument. So you have to automatically go in with your mindset understanding that I'm a leader and I need to do this properly and I need to lead my team to a victory every single time I sit down behind the drums, okay? And the first way you do that is by making sure you're comfortable behind the drums, okay? And a lot of y'all, when you got your own drum kit, you breaking down, setting up. Figure out how you like it. Don't just slap it up there and just play again. Figure out how you like it. Figure out what's best for you so you can lead your team to the best. And so when you got a drum solo, you can almost play with your eyes closed and you won't mess up because your setup is the same every single time, all right? Let's move on to the next mistake. Mistake number 5 is going to be your technique. If you are squeezing the stick, you are hindering yourself, okay? Injuries is going to be your number one enemy and tension is going to be your number one enemy. So when you're holding the stick, make sure that you're not squeezing it and make sure your technique is loose and free. You should almost feel like you're about to fall asleep. I had a high school instructor. He was an amazing teacher. He always used to say that. You should feel like you're getting ready to fall asleep on the drums. That's how relaxed you are. Now, when y'all see me on YouTube or y'all see me on Instagram and my hair is swinging and I'm playing the chops, it looks like I'm showing a lot of tension and a lot of squeezing and a lot of force, but I'm not, okay? I'm actually very, very relaxed, which is why I'm able to make those movements. I feel so free, okay? Your fluidity around the drums is going to suck if your technique is not where it needs to be. Your technique is going to be the foundation. A lot of y'all struggling to get around the drums. You're like, I want to play faster. Well, you choking the stick, you're never going to be able to play faster, right? You got your hand too high up on the stick. You're not utilizing the velocity within the stick to play the things you want to play. So you're confused. You're like, man, this is not fair. I don't know what's going on. I can't do what those other guys do. Well, look at how your favorite drummers play. Look at how they look when they're playing. I will be surprised if you got a favorite drummer and you can find out where their hands are being very, very tense. Okay, technique is a very, very big thing. Don't be afraid to explore different techniques, okay? You can look at the French grip. You can look at the German grip, which is, pretty much the basic grip, the German grip. But there's different grips. You know what I'm saying? You can look at molar technique. All of these different drummers that you see on the internet, a lot of them are using different techniques. As drummers, we spend a lot of time looking up videos of gospel chops, looking at videos of Zyck the Freak, looking at different videos of your favorite drummers. But guess what? Sometimes y'all need to actually use this stuff as an educational moment. Look up different techniques and see which ones you like. Matter of fact, put it down in the comments if y'all want me to do a video on different techniques that you can play. Let me know and I will begin to talk about it and help y'all with different techniques. Put it down in the comments. We're gonna move on to the next mistake. Mistake number 6 is you do not use your ears. That is a big problem. And I don't mean just on stage, I mean in general. When you are riding in the car, put on some music. Don't listen to it from an entertainment standpoint. Listen to it from an analytical standpoint. That is going to take your playing off. Whenever you're listening to your favorite drummer solo, stop looking at it like, oh my God, this is so awesome. Zyck is so awesome. Don't look at it like that. Even though I really appreciate y'all, admiring my chops, admiring my videos. I appreciate that. But it is not just for me to excite you and entertain you. You need to start looking at what I'm doing. Half the things that I'm talking about on this list, you will be able to figure out if you start listening from an analytical standpoint and watching from an analytical standpoint. Sometimes you got to take yourself out of the seat of somebody that wants to be entertained and put yourself in the seat of somebody that is trying to learn. And you will begin to notice and see so many different things within your favorite drummers. So it's all about what you're listening to. Listen to different chops, listen to different tracks. If I want to get better at soloing over jazz music, then I need to start listening to solo jazz drummers. Drummers who are soloing over different changes and listen to how they're approaching it. And as I listen to different drummers, I'll get different approaches, different ways that people are going about it. And then I will say, oh, I like the way Buddy Rich did this, but I do not like the way Dennis Chambers did this, which probably will never come out of anybody's mouth because Dennis Chambers is a god. But you get what I'm saying? I like the way this drummer did that. I don't like the way that drummer did that, but I like the way this drummer approached that. Now I'm swinging jazz and taking jazz solos in no time. Listening is going to get you better, faster than you just trying to play all the time. Because when you listen, right, the things that are going into your ears are going to come out of you eventually if you continue to listen to it, right? If you want to know how to play better gospel music, like, man, I just don't understand how to play gospel, let alone how to chop, let alone how to do gospel chops. Okay, cool. Start listening to more gospel drummers. Engulf yourself in that. Ask your teachers. Ask me. Zyck, who should I check out if I want to get better at that? And it'll help you 100%. Use your ears. That is one of the biggest mistakes on this list. Let's move to the final one. Let's get it. The final and the last mistake, which is going to be the most crucial, is a lack of strength. You need to have some sort of different exercises that you can play in order to strengthen your hands and your feet. You will never be able to play the things you're hearing in your mind or play the ideas that are popping in your head or actually sound how you want to sound if your feet and your hands lack strength. Okay, because your mind is going to be ahead of your hands and your feet at your level of playing right now. So you can hear you can hear that in your head, but when you go to do it, your hands and your feet aren't there yet. Okay, so what you need to do is strengthen your hands and your feet and put yourself in a position to be able to say, oh, wow, now I can do this. Now there's nothing I can think of that my hands and feet cannot do. How do we get there? We strengthen our hands and our feet. We learn different exercises. We work on our strength in our fingers and in our hands and our feet. And then guess what? We begin to be able to do those things. And you might be saying to yourself, well, dang, Zyck, all of the exercises on YouTube suck. I agree. That's why I created never before heard exercises in my program, School of Chops, that you can have access to and work with me one-on-one. I'm going to personally teach you how to play those exercises to strengthen your hands and your feet so you can be the drummer that I know that you can be and that I know you want to be. So hit the link in the description so we can work together one-on-one. I'm going to give you these exercises, and that is going to be the foundation for you to begin to play what you're hearing in your head and finally understand chops. A lot of y'all have been practicing for years and you can groove, but when it comes to you expressing yourself and being creative, you cannot do it. And the reason why you cannot do it is because them hands and them feet is weak. But when you work with me, I will take you there. I will get you there and I will help you get there. Hit the link in the description to work with me one-on-one. With that being said, we'll see you guys next time. I love y'all. Don't hesitate to reach out. I will see y'all next time. Zyck out. Peace.